anybody have anything they'd like to bring up? Okay, the next item is review of the board members' minutes of November 16, 2023. And it's a board action, so can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
November 16th, 23.
I'll second. Discussion.
Yeah, on the reference to the executive session, I seemed, to my mind, when I asked that the record be made clear that we had an executive session to discuss real estate matters, that I didn't mention or identify the property. Didn't mean to. That would have stayed in executive session, and the minutes shouldn't reflect the property, just that we were discussing a real estate transaction.
Sheet is on that?
That's on the last page, page 5.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not supposed to.
Would we like to make a motion to strike that?
I'll move to strike it. I don't think the public minutes should yet reflect or identify the property we're talking about.
I'll second it.
Just
All right.
take out,
Grand Avenue?
okay.
All right. All in favor of accepting the minutes with that one revision regarding the property on Grand Avenue, say aye.
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 Aye. So, do you have that in?
Yes.
November 30th, 2023 financial statements. I have a motion to accept the financial statements.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Discussion. So, Dan, are you more or less satisfied with how things are going now that we're 6 months in, or coming up on 6 months?
Yeah, we're under personnel services, we're at 39.88%, which is good for us right now.
Okay.
I had a concern on that during the budget. And then on the system development, on the SDC, last month it showed, this is on page 4, it showed that money was coming out of, for our manual transfer switch project we have going on. Funds were coming out of the SDC consulting service. I had Aaron change that and move it down and take it out of sewer expansion because that's what it's for.
Okay.
It was just taking out the wrong line item, that's all. It's the same amount, we just had to move it where it's correct.
That's the 21,455? Is that
Yes, well, yes, the 21,455. And one correction, it's not for the manual transfers, it's for the sewer expansion that we talked about, possible for Avalon.
I find it interesting that we don't have any more SDC applications.
I don't know if we have any outstanding. I know that pretty much everybody's paid up what was out. SDCs,
We got 2 in November.
yeah, we received 2.
One on Room Dancer and one on Happy Camp.
when you say you're surprised that there's not more activity in the first, like July through September, October, because I'm thinking now we're into the wet season and that could slow down a bit. Perhaps. And then pick up again in the spring. Okay, any other comments? All in favor of accepting the financial report, say aye.
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 And the next item is the board audit accounts payable. Bank reconciliation. Can you just refresh me on Cable Houston and what this covers? The
The-
$5,700?
So the $5,700 is actually an accumulation from July.
Okay,
It's not all that we did in 1 month. That's actually, I think the last invoice we got went all the way back to July.
okay.
Had to do with personnel stuff through that portion as well.
Okay, and then down at the bottom here, the annual road use maintenance, is that to Green Tree? Or
Green
was?
Crow? No, yes, it's the one that we pay annually, but it's no longer Green Crow now.
Green Crow, I meant,
Yeah.
okay.
Who is,
Hmm?
who is it?
Well, it's an investment firm, capital investment firm, but it's being managed through Chinook Forest Management out of Grants Pass, Oregon. Green Crow sold it 2 years ago and never even notified us.
Right.
We didn't even know, and so we didn't know where to send the check. I found out from the feds when they were doing the bypass road. And so I did, because this is a road maintenance fee that's in our easement agreement. And it's about time that road gets restriped, so once I asked Green Crow that they need to schedule that, they immediately, we no longer own it, you gotta talk to these other people, so they put me in touch. So,
I'll bet they're not transferring the $1,500.
we didn't pay it to Green Crow.
We didn't?
No,
Okay.
they haven't owned the property in 2 years.
Yeah,
So the
well-
last year payment went to Green Crow.
Yeah, but even
So-
though they didn't own it.
So the new management, Chinook Forest Management, Tom Hayes, the manager, he called and wanted us to send the easement to him because they never received that from Green Crow.
Any questions or other discussion? If not, we'll proceed to the district report.
We had no violations for November. I'll go through this fairly quickly. Right now, we have no collection system inspections scheduled for December. We'll look at that starting next month. The Capes pump station leak has been, Capes 1 has been repaired. That was the final invoice. The original estimate was $38,000 in case we had to dig up the valve vault and all the piping. So it wound up being a fairly easy fix with gaskets and new bolts. And this fixed both sides, for both pumps, both storage lines. Ocean Highlands pump station generator had failed. We put the engine back in after we found out it was good. It's taken a little while. I've had a disagreement with Cummins. That's been rectified now. So Cummins sent us, there's a circuit board card in there that controls part of the starting of the engine. That's over $4,000, but so we've scheduled for them to come back, and the cost of that is $8,644.96. That should get the generator back up and running. It's still obsolete. There's still very few parts left for it, but that should give us the ability to disconnect and send the rental generator back, and so we don't have to keep paying the $2,500 for that. So we're looking at, they'll be here December 28th. So hopefully we can get it there. I have the electrician scheduled to come wire everything back up, and hopefully we're back on that generator till our new one gets here September, October. Ocean Highlands, the control panel failed. It's one of the ones I've informed the board is in a multi-trode style. We did rob a part off the one that we took out of the Netarts pump station, but now we have no more spare parts. So we're running the same type of control panel in the Happy Camp pump station. So we're gonna have to move up, replace in probably a project. We'll budget it for this next budget year, but we're gonna have to replace both those control panels. They're gonna have to be upgraded. There's no parts left for those. And those are vintage 2005, 2006 is about when those were installed. So I'm gonna start on that the first of the year when the holidays are over. And I will start getting that prices to the board so we can look at on getting it in our budget for the next fiscal year.
Why do you think it failed?
Well, it's a control unit, an electronic control unit. It failed. It just like a computer. It finally just gave up. So and you can't repair them. They're replacement items. The replacements are no longer made. So they've reached the end of their useful life. They usually have a 15-year to 20-year lifespan, and we're coming up on that. I think what is it now, 17, 18 years. So, and I've talked to the board about this before, about replacing those two. There's no changes on our delivery date for the new Ocean Highlands pump station generator. It's still, I think, September. The effluent pump station, we had the pump fail in it. It's beyond repair. I think you should see the attachments. You'll see that it was, to repair the broken one was over $20,000. To replace it was $17,000, but because I believe that Xylem's tech messed with it down here. I think he closed up some of the clearances over a year ago. I think is what helped take that pump out. So they they're selling us a new pump at half price. So we will have a brand new pump, but that other one's not even selling. There's nothing left. Well, maybe the handle, but that's about it.
And the gentleman that did the work is not coming back.
And the other agreement is that tech is kind of banned from coming out to do any work for us anymore. So the cost to replace that pump is it's $10,000, but it's there's $2,000 upgrades we do. We have the head filled with foam, keeps the water out. Those pumps seem to have a leakage problem after a while, and that one has a history of failing. This would have been the third failure on it. So after we have that many failures, then we look at changing the style of pump or what's in it. So that's the other $2,000 plus the shipping. It will take a while to get it. It's scheduled to leave Sweden in January 8th is when it's scheduled to ship by boat. So we still won't see it probably for another 4 to 6 weeks. But,
I don't mind going over and picking it up.
so, we still have 3 additional pumps down there, so it's not like we're gonna run out. This is one of the smaller horsepower pumps for low flows, but we can run on any of the other 3 at any time. So, the grounds here, we need to get the brush cut away from the fences around it. Everything is growing into the chain link fabric, and eventually it's just going to ruin it. So we don't have the time or the manpower to dedicate to that, considering we have more important maintenance that we have to do at the pump stations and treatment plant. So I talked to the city of Tillamook, and they recommended North Coast Lawns, who they use for their parks, their treatment plant, water plants, to do all the yard maintenance. And so the owner came up, went around, and he bid, it's $8,500 to clear out 4 feet all the way around, starting from the fence up in this corner behind the shop, all the way around the lagoons and up. Spray the growth that's starting to grow around the lagoons on the inside, and do some trimming at the office. And that's $8,500, and then $500 for spraying to kill everything. So the total is $9,000. We may have to look at using North Coast for more yard maintenance at some of the larger pump, like the main pump station. We just don't have the time to be mowing lawns. The treatment plant is now over 10 years old, and it needs a lot more maintenance and care. So I had entertained looking at maybe budgeting to put a maintenance person on, but I think the cost is higher than just hiring an outside firm to come in and do that maintenance every few months. So it's under my approval, but I wanted the board to know, and I think that this is a direction that we need to go. And we have plenty of money in the budget for this, in our O&M. So it's not like an extra cost that we have to budget for and raise for next year. So if the board doesn't have a problem with that, oh, and I spoke with Chinook Forest Management, and they authorized us to go out and cut. Green Crow was the last one that we received authorization from. So I got new authorization, and they were all for it. And this will include cutting everything, picking everything up, and removing it off-site. So there'll be no dried brush laying around when it's all done. They'll chop everything up and haul it off. And this might work out really well for other easements we have, especially that this company offers that they'll haul off all the debris. So I will have them get started. This is the time of the year that you want to cut this type of brush. And this is the time of year that the property owner on the outside of the fence wants us to do that type of maintenance as well. The manual transfer switch project, it's still on schedule for March. They're waiting for the second manual transfer switch for the Netarts pump station to get here. They have everything else for the Oceanside, but they're waiting for that one so they can just mow out once and go into it.
So, do they absolutely need to spray?
Well, I talked to the forest management, to Chinook. They prefer certain spraying, but what we're spraying is not on the outside. It's the gravel road around the lagoons. It's not outside the fence. We're not spraying any brush or trees or stuff like that. It's just to keep the grass from overtaking the gravel driveways around the lagoons for maintenance.
And that lagoon water
Is contained. There is no discharge for that lagoon water.
right, it's not going out.
No, those are all vinyl lined lagoons, so it can't soak into the ground. Anything that's discharged returns to the treatment plant for process.
So what will happen when there is sludge removal from the lagoons, right? eventually. Will, whatever, I think you're getting to, what is the hazard related to spraying, right? Is that what
Well,
you're
if you
talking
don't
about?
have to spray, I mean,
Yeah.
kinda, it's just one of those things.
My understanding, I can get the MSDS sheet on it, but I believe it's an organic product. And any sludge in lagoons are tested to meet all the 503 regulations for it before it's even hauled out of here. So if there's any type of contamination, I think that what you're probably asking about will show up in that. Pesticides and all that, it's tested for that before it's taken out. Just like we had to do when we used to haul it into the Port of Tillamook Bay, it had to pass those tests so that there were no pesticides or chemicals added to it.
Yeah. Just wanna make sure that we don't, they spray the day that you have to go in there and work down in there.
No, that spraying will
You know
most
what I'm saying.
likely only be an annual. We used to use a chemical called monobore, is what we did at all the pump stations. We stopped using that years ago, because it's toxic. So this stuff that North Coast Lawn uses is supposed to be organic. Like I said, we don't have to wear any type of special suits to be around it, so,
Okay.
yeah. And that pretty much concludes what I have. The board has any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I think I was looking back trying to see how many months have we deferred collection inspections?
probably close to a year.
Yeah, I was just wondering at what point should we be concerned about not seeing what's down there?
Well-
You kind of went by it, you didn't really,
Okay,
so
so,
much of a role in your report, but I just noticed every month, you're saying we're gonna start that next month, and each month you're saying we're gonna start that next month, and so I thought at some point I should probably ask, at what point should we be concerned about that?
usually we like to combine it with Zawald and their jet truck and come clean the lines. Trying to get on his schedule is getting tough, so we're gonna just go out and start, well, for one, we'll go out and just start TVing and checking the sewer lines for their condition, operating condition, any deteriorations, any leaks, laterals, stuff like that. I can't continue to wait for the jet truck. The second thing is that to have enough manpower here to take the camera van out has been a struggle also. So with vacations, leaves, people calling in sick, it's awful hard to get it scheduled to get 3 people to go out and do that. Because you have to, for traffic safety, and it takes a camera operator and it takes another one to operate the camera into the sewer lines, as you saw up there on Pearl Street that time, Jerry. So it takes a few people. It's been tough trying to get 3 people and still operate on the treatment plant and the other breakdowns that we've had. So that keeps getting put off.
Well, I assume there've been good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, no matter how good the reasons, do we need to start being concerned that, maybe we need to do something extraordinary to get down there and see what is waiting for you?
So this is one of the reasons that I called for an outside source to come start doing the yard work and the maintenance like that, because when you take the operators away to mow lawns, weed eat, you take them out of the field on the other stuff that we need to get done. So it's just gotten to a point where we either hire more or we hire outside source. I'm opting for the outside source so that I can start dedicating at least 3 people to that camera van to go out and start TVing. If we have to, and then we can work around the jet truck. We can get, if we find something wrong, we can bring the jetter back in to clean that line and then re-inspect it. But what we're gonna start doing is go out looking for inflow and infiltration, because that's a requirement of our NPDS permit.
Yeah,
But no,
okay, my question is not what you're planning to do, but how concerned should we be that it hasn't been done yet? Are you getting concerned about the fact that no matter how good the reasons, we haven't looked in those pipes for a year? And if you come back to us again next month, like you did last month and said we're gonna start this next month, and again, you've got lots of good reasons for it not happening, should we start pressing harder or getting more resources? I'm trying to figure out at what point is our due diligence to be more concerned about this? I'm asking you, how current should we be? Are you concerned? And you're not answering that question. So
I
I don't
am.
think you're concerned.
I am very concerned. That's why I don't wanna keep putting it off month after month. That's why I called somebody else to come up and do this yard work. I'm looking for a second source for jetter truck service as well. We cannot keep
Okay,
putting it off.
so
So
you're
in
very,
2020,
you're very concerned. That's what
yes,
need to
I
do.
am very concerned, especially due to all the storms that we've had and how it taxed the collection system.
Good, I was starting to get concerned too, but I wasn't hearing that from you in your report, so.
Oh, well, I
okay, we got-
apologize, yes, I'm very concerned, that's why it stays on there. I probably should express better, but due to road failures, culvert failures, all of our sewer lines lie below most culverts and road crossings. And so if the county or state loses a road crossing, you know, they lose a culvert, take out a road, if our infrastructure's there, it's usually damaged as well. So due to the storms, I am very concerned that we haven't gone in there in over a year and looked at our sewer system.
Could we bring in a traffic safety group? There are several that work as far as doing flagging and things like that to support the van, the crew that's on the van. You mentioned traffic safety, and that might
Right.
save some personnel.
So, as far as the traffic goes, when I get the permits to work in the roadways, whether it be county, state, we're required to get, traffic control. On some of the non-main arterials, some of the side streets, there's plenty where the van can pull off to the side, and we just put cones around it, and we just, you know, flag, we don't need flaggers, because we never close down a lane. But when we get into those, we're gonna have to inspect the main line coming to the main pump station. That's gonna require a permit from the state, ODOT, and I'll have to get flaggers out.
To close 131.
Well, we'll have to get it down to one lane. There's nowhere to put the van but in the middle of one lane. So it's really dependent on where the sewer line resides in the roadway. If it's off to the shoulder, you can usually get off to the shoulder, you can still keep both lanes open. But I always like to have a third person watching traffic, you know, and also assisting with the camera in and out and that type of equipment. But you always want to have some observer watching that, you know, somebody's not paying attention when they're driving down the road, and then nobody gets caught.
So, what I wonder is, by our next board meeting, can you give us a target date on which you tentatively plan to have this work start?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We'll probably already have it started before the next board meeting, but I haven't sat down with Brian and Tyler and came up with a actual schedule. Brian actually had it scheduled a couple weeks ago, but then we ran into issues when Cummins came back to work on that generator and it didn't work out.
Okay,
So,
but by next month, we should be able to
yeah,
have something.
yeah. So we'll get back and we'll show you on this map over here, the white one. We'll mark out all those of work that's already been done. So you see Oceanside going towards Oceanside, needs more work. So we can map out, well, we'll be able to tell you what section of that town, of that area we're gonna be working in.
All right. Anything else on the district report? Old business, don't know that we have any items. New business, we have the USDA Rural Development Inspection Certification. We had Susan Sauer from USDA Rural Development was in here on December 13th. Since we have loans with rural development, I guess they have a requirement to make sure that the facility which they've financed is maintained in good condition. So she came out, spent probably half an hour I dragged her into this room. I think she was surprised that I wanted to sit down and see what she wanted. I guess that comes from my military background, bringing in an inspector of any sort. But anyway, it was very brief. And then Brian, let's see, a couple of you took her out a little bit?
Yes, myself and Tyler, we took her on a tour of the whole plant.
Yeah, up here.
Yes.
She saw. So there's a certification here for me to sign, and she had a subsequent question. If you want to mention that she had after she left the email.
She sent me an email 2 days ago with a question that she discovered we had 2 violations through DEQ. That was the August sewer spill on the force main, and then the sewer spill in December, is it December? Yeah, December of last year when the transfer switch failed. She wanted to know if both those items were repaired and a guarantee that it'll never happen again. So they've been repaired, but there's no guarantee. And that's a standard question when they don't understand what you actually do. You know, so I responded in kind, that's what I told her. And I haven't heard back from her, so I assume that satisfied her to close her books.
So, does anybody have any questions on that? She seems satisfied as far as we know.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have the annual conference in February. I had sent out an email to everybody. If you're interested, we can get you signed up. And my understanding is if you want to stay up there in Seaside, what's normally done is you would get the room, put it on your card, and we would reimburse you.
Mm-hmm. That mileage, yeah, your per diem.
The per diem and the
Just
room.
bring your receipts,
Yeah.
you know how it's done, but anyway.
So, and I think when I sent it out, I told you how to look at the agenda to see if there's items of interest that you would like to see. So you indicated that you probably will not be going.
Well, I don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I have other things coming up.
Okay. So, anyway, it is early February. If you are interested in going, please let Erin know as soon as possible. Either,
I'm waiting for the one in Maui.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we had somebody put in a bid for Sweden before you said Maui, so. I think that person is before you, but good luck to both of you. So,
And there's still time to sign up for it.
yeah, yeah. Observed holidays. The only change will be to bring in Juneteenth, which is a federal and state holiday, and we would be consistent with the federal and state holidays, adding that date. Does anybody have any other questions on the holiday schedule for 2024? Have you all added that in the fire department, or?
Yep. President said so.
President says. Okay. That concludes the agenda. I'd like to have very short executive session to go over several items. So we'll adjourn the main meeting, and as soon as the room is clear, we'll go into executive session.